You know, we're all pattern seekers at heart. It's a fundamental part of being human. Today on The Explainer, we're going to dive into that search for order, but through two really distinct and honestly fascinating lenses from Islamic thought. And really, this one question gets to the heart of our whole journey today. Think about it. Is the universe this incredible marvel of mathematics? Things we can see and measure? Or is it more like a poem written in code, a hidden language embedded in scripture itself? Let's dig into both of those ideas. Okay, so before we can really jump into either of those lenses, we gotta get our heads around a core Islamic principle that basically underpins this whole discussion. And that's the concept of qadr. So qadr, what is it? Well, it's this idea that everything, and I mean everything, from the stars in the sky right down to our own lives, is part of a divine blueprint. Some sources talk about a preserved tablet where the fate of all creation is already written down. So in this worldview, nothing happens by chance. It's all part of a meticulously planned, perfectly measured design. All right, so if this divine blueprint exists, where do we even look for it? Well, one perspective says, hey, you don't have to look far. Just open your eyes to the world around us, to the consistent, observable laws of nature. This viewpoint suggests that there are these mathematical constants literally woven into the fabric of creation. And the source material we looked at gives a really famous example to illustrate this: the golden ratio. So this number phi, it's about 1.618. And what's wild is that it seems to pop up everywhere. You see it in the perfect spiral of a nautilus shell, the way leaves branch out from a stem, even in the proportions of the human body. So from this perspective, it's not just a random number, it's like a signature of divine balance, a universal constant for beauty in nature. And it's not just in static shapes. We see this principle in processes too. I mean, take the water cycle, which the explainer highlights as a perfectly balanced system. It's not just rain falling randomly, right? It's this incredibly measured distribution of water where evaporation, precipitation, and groundwater all work together in, well, perfect harmony. So when you look at it this way, science isn't some enemy of faith. Actually, it becomes a form of worship. Studying the universe is like learning to read a book of divine signs, or ayat in Arabic. It means faith and science aren't at odds. They're seen as two complementary paths, both leading to the same truth. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. We're going to look at a completely different lens for finding order now. This one moves away from the book of nature and zooms in on the book of scripture itself. And this is where one of our sources introduces a pretty fascinating framework. It's all about uncovering what it suggests are hidden numerical and geometric patterns, not in nature, but within the actual text of the Quran. So we're not talking about the laws of physics anymore. We're talking about a potential code hidden in the words themselves. This framework has a name. It's called the System Pentagon Quran, or the Quran Pentagon System. You can think of it as this multi-layered method that combines numerology, geometry, and even traditional interpretation, all in an effort to reveal what its advocates call a numerical miracle that's hidden right there in the text. So according to this system, certain numbers aren't just there by accident. They're believed to be foundational codes. Take the number 5, for instance. It's linked to the pentagon shape, sure, but also to the 5 pillars of Islam. Then you've got 25. Why 25? Well, that's how many prophets are named in the Quran. And hey, it's also 5 squared. And finally, the number 19 is seen as a special code for Tawheed, which is the core concept of the oneness of God. Okay, to see this in action, let's look at the example of the prophet Adam. His name is mentioned exactly 25 times in the Quran. So the analysis connects this directly to that core number, 25, or 5 squared. And it doesn't stop there. It ties it to the geometric perfection of the Pentagon and even links it to Surah 25, the 25th chapter of the Quran. So, okay, we've got these two really big ideas about order, right? One in the natural world, one in a sacred text. But you might be wondering, what does any of this have to do with our daily lives? And that question brings us to a very famous and very practical Islamic teaching. It's this famous saying attributed to the Prophet Muhammad:
trust in Allah but tie your camel. It just perfectly captures this balance, doesn't it? The balance between having faith in a divine plan but also taking personal responsibility for your actions. It's not an either-or situation. It's a command to do both.
And this saying really unpacks two key concepts. On one side, you have ikhtiyar. That's your effort. That's the striving, the hard work, the seeking of knowledge, which, by the way, is considered an act of worship in itself. And on the other side of the coin, you have tawakkul. This means active reliance. It's not about just sitting back and waiting for things to happen. No, it's about doing everything in your power and then leaving the final outcome to God's wisdom.
And this idea is reinforced right in the Quran, which says, man shall have nothing but what he strives for. So this worldview, it's really not about passive fatalism at all. It's the opposite. It's a powerful call to action, framing our own striving as a crucial part of the divine plan itself.
So here we are. We've journeyed through two very different, but you have to admit, equally compelling ways of seeing and finding order in the universe. So let's just bring it all together, shall we? Lens number 1 reads that divine blueprint in the observable world around us, in the laws of science and mathematics. But lens number 2, that one tries to decipher a proposed code within the scripture itself, finding meaning in all those numerical and geometric patterns.
And what's so fascinating here is that both of these paths, even though they use completely different tools, are really heading for the same destination. They both aim to show us a universe that isn't chaotic or random. Instead, it's precise, it's harmonious, and it's full of signs, all designed to build a deeper sense of trust and awe-inspiring wonder.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Whether we find these incredible patterns in the spiral of a seashell or in the verses of a sacred text, are we actually discovering a map that was left for us to find? Or are we simply seeing a beautiful reflection of our own deep, innate, and very human need to find meaning in a seemingly chaotic universe?